Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Just as an introduction, Mark, if you could introduce yourself.
I'm Mark Vendetto. I've been with the New Haven Fire Department for 19 years. I'm Vice President of the Union and currently a Battalion Chief with the City of New Haven, Acting Deputy Chief.
My name is Frank Ricci. I thank you for having us here to present in front of the Honorable Board of the New Haven Register. As somebody who comes from a newspaper family, my father worked for 30 years in charge of circulation for the Record Journal, so I grew up in paper, and this is a big honor to present in front of you today. I've been on the fire service, came on with Mark in New Haven for 19 years. I did 5 years in Bethesda at Chevy Chase, Maryland, inside the Capitol Beltway, and I did 8 months in Middletown. I'm the president of the Fire Union. I'm also a battalion chief, and I'm contributing editor to the nation's leading trade publication for the fire service, Fire Engineering Magazine, where we have over 127,000 paid subscriptions. With no further ado, what this board and what this paper means to America, what it means to New Haven and the citizens, often we lose sight of what we do. Firefighters sometimes diminish what they do, the papers diminish what they do, but the paper is one of our pillars of our democracy. And I'm not just saying that because I'm before the editorial board. The picture that you see here is Victor Bolden and Justice Cabranes. When Sonia Sotomayor dismissed the Supreme Court case for the New Haven 20, what happened was they dismissed it in a summary order. So a summary order means that it's a case of no legal importance, essentially. So it doesn't get circulated around the Second Circuit Court in Manhattan. And what happened is Justice Cabranes happens to have a child who goes to school in New Haven, and he saw the front page of the New Haven Register, Bill Kemper's story, and he said, wait, I didn't see this case. Why didn't this case go before the full circuit? And it was him, who happens to be a Clinton appointee, who stepped up and said that the New Haven 20 Supreme Court case needs to go before the United States Supreme Court. So the paper has had a national impact in both of our personal lives as well as the fire department moving forward. As I was talking about not recognizing things, this was a street performer in the DC subway, and he just got off the subway, he threw out his violin case, and he started playing the violin. But really, nobody paid any attention to him. Nobody really stopped. I think it was recorded that he raised maybe $5 to $7, and really the only person that took the time to stop and pay attention was a little child. Stop and listened. And sometimes, even when we have all the information right in front of us, we just walk right by it without really recognizing what's going on around us. The New Haven Fire Department is the busiest fire department in the state of Connecticut. We have several challenges just with the topography and the infrastructure of the city. Our city isn't like other cities where you can just cross-cover companies because we're split by the third busiest harbor in New England. We rely on bridges, drawbridges. We have the ocean, we have rivers, and we also have high-rise buildings and 2 significant cliffs that Yale students like to get trapped on once or twice a year. So the city represents challenges for us. Also, the fire departments that are on the sides of us, that border us, are much smaller bedroom community type departments, so they don't have the level of resources to come in and cover the city.
City of New Haven, we're in a great time here. We're all in agreement. Population is growing in the City of New Haven. Look around. 360 State Street, the development going on State Street. A lot of people are moving to the city. The city projections alone are projecting that over 10,000 people in the next 10 years will be moving to the city. And all this is not taken into account when we look at numbers of the amount of undocumented immigrants that we have in the City of New Haven, being a sanctuary city that we serve. At least 10,000 to 12,000 that they can justify that we serve proudly into our numbers that go above with actually in our census data. Also not taking into account the total amount of college students that come into the City of New Haven, at least for 6 to 7 months out of the year. It's an additional 35,414 students between all the universities within our borders that we serve. We do tend to get our fires at Yale University. We have our elevators, all our technical rescues that come along, and our calls that go with that.
If you look at New Haven, you'll also see, besides having a large population, our population density is some of the highest in the state, along with Waterbury and Hartford. But our homes are predominantly bloom frame construction. And what that means to a layperson is, if you grew up in a house with bloom frame construction and you were ever in the attic and you threw a penny at the wall, the penny would end up in the basement. So what happens when a home catches on fire in our city, it's not like a platform construction house, new construction, where it's confined to that floor. Once the fire gets into the walls, you can't fight the fire incrementally. You have to get everything in place, because the fire travel is so great in those void spaces. It just runs right up for wherever breaks into the walls, goes right into the attic. So if you got a basement fire when you pull up, the first thing the fire department does is check the attic, because that's where it's going to be next. We have, when the original plan came out to take an engine company off duty in New Haven, that contract was negotiated in 2005. It came into being in 2006. But since then, there's nobody that can deny New Haven doesn't look the same as it did in 2005. 360 State Street wasn't there. The buildings by Yale and Ingalls Rank, Yale Swin College wasn't there. IKEA was just being built. The city is growing. New Haven's open. New Haven's a great city. New Haven is the place to do business. We got Jordan's Furniture moved in. Lexington. So New Haven's building up, and in the last just even 5 years driving around, it's not the same city.
The Winchester area, we have more higher building, the apartment buildings that are going in there. City's growing, and it's a great thing. 2005, when that contract was negotiated, these things were not in place, was not around.
What the fire department does. The fire department provides the best possible service of any government municipal agency out there. What other department could you pick up the phone every day of the year, regardless of the holiday, and have somebody show up to your home within 4 minutes with no paperwork, with the only goal to help? They call us for everything. We show up. The fire department always shows up, and we're always there to lend a helping hand. And in New Haven, your fire engine's showing up 90% of the time in less than 4 minutes, whether it's a hazardous material call, a rope rescue, a motor vehicle accident. New Haven is even susceptible to terrorism. We've had our share with the Unabomber and Yale Law School bombing, fires. We are a busy urban city. I was on a fishing trip to Alaska, and I don't know how that got in there. Our members go to work every day, and they don't know if they're going to get hurt. We kiss our wives, our kids, our husbands goodbye in the morning when you go to work. You don't know what your day is going to be like on the fire department. Nationwide, over 80,000 injuries a year. That's my brother Jimmy, firefighter. This is Saybrook College at Yale, a community downtown, a sprinkler building where, when searching for a trapped security guard in high heat and zero visibility, we first restored here. This is on the second floor of Saybrook College. As I came in, I could hear water operating. I ventilated this window, broke the window. I continued to crawl, and couldn't see my hand in front of my face, and I was sliding the bar across the wall, trying to find another window to take out to release some of the heat. As I got right here, I was kneeling on the edge of the abyss. As I put my hands back down, I felt no floor and ended up on the first floor about 13 feet below. My mask got dislodged. I was taking in a nasty hit of smoke. I was choking. I didn't know how I was going to get out of the building. As I got myself up and put my mask on, I heard a ka-kink. It was Captain Robert Gavuli was searching for the same person I was searching for. His tool that he had in front of him, making sure the floor was there, found the hole. He was unable to pull himself back. He landed on top of me, ripping all the muscles off my shoulders. He calls me Cushion now. Engine Company 4 happened to be operating at the bottom of that shaft. I personally probably would have went that way, where there was no doorway to get out. Engine 4 took me and bottom literally and said, come this way, and the door was about 7 feet from us. You gotta remember, when you're on fire, you can't see. Everything has to be done simultaneously. You're on air, and having air in the back of your bottle is like having an hourglass nailed to the table. You don't get any more. They say it's a 30-minute bottle. There's nobody in America that gets 30 minutes out of an air bottle. An air bottle lasts you about 15 minutes depending on what you're doing. New Haven has had the most line-of-duty deaths of any department in the state. It's a burden we carry with us. As you report about our recruit classes, you will see all of our recruit classes in New Haven carry a high-rise pack. It's a piece of hose that we use in high-rise buildings to fight the fire. You will see every name of every firefighter that was killed in the line of duty on that hose, and we have to run and exercise with that hose every single day as carrying the burden further, saying that we could all do a better job. We got to make sure that we're safe and do everything we can to protect our citizens. ISO, they rated New Haven. This year we got this distinction as a Class 1 fire department. So this is an independent organization. They evaluate over 48,000 departments. There's only 2 other Class 1 departments in New Haven, and a lot of it goes into that rating. And what goes into that rating is how the department trains, what the communications are, what the water supply setup, what the hydrants are located in the street. But one of the main things that ISO rates, and it's very specific to taking an engine company off duty, is they rate response time. So they evaluate how our engine companies are dispersed across the city, and they've determined that if you call 911, 90% of the time, your first due neighborhood fire engine is going to be there within 4 minutes. That is remarkable.
What's the other city in Connecticut?
Hartford and Milford.
So there are 3 that are
There's 3
ISO.
total in Connecticut. And there's only 178 departments that have Class 1 rating across the entire country. Los Angeles County, Montgomery County, Maryland, they're all Class 1 departments. If you look how our city is set up now, these are all your neighborhood firehouses. The 2 that are circled are where there's an emergency unit, where there's a paramedic unit. That's essentially a pickup truck or an ambulance type vehicle that has at least 1 paramedic on it. So they split the city in half now, covering ALS calls. If you look at our numbers, Engine Company 6 in the heart of New Hallville, I worked here for over 10 years, love that firehouse, close to 4,000 calls. Busiest first due engine company at working fires in the city. It's also the busiest for medicals. For getting there when somebody's having an asthma attack, a stroke, a seizure, that fire engine gets there first. Engine 4 covers downtown, Lombard is Fairhaven, and here's Engine 9. Close to 3,000 calls is the fire engine they want to take off service. This district, 9's, backs up Engine Company 6, this one New Hallville region of the city, and the Hill. So it borders 2 busiest districts. Engine 9's district also has a lot of setbacks and buildings that don't have standpipe systems. If you go, I would assume in this building, if you go in a stairwell of any high-rise, you're going to see a standpipe. It's a pipe that goes up where the fire department can hook up their hose and stretch. So if you look at all of House Street, for example, there's no standpipes in those buildings. So if you have a fire on the 6th floor with all those occupants, the firefighter's got to stretch hose from the ground floor all the way to the 6th floor. There's no hooking into the wall. We are a very old New England city, which presents challenges. Engine 9's district is very challenging. The other company that they were looking at not too long ago was Engine Company 8. Engine Company 8's district has grown so much since 2005, but they back up Engine Company 6 and Engine Company 10. If you take 8s out or 9s out, that means these engine companies are now covering into those districts, increasing response time for medicals and for fires. And let me just get a little bit into how we work for EMS calls. Don't take my word for it. Ask any doctor. Early intervention is the key to positive outcomes when it comes to a medical emergency. If you're having a heart attack, if you're having a seizure, asthma attack, anything that you can think of, it's early intervention that makes the difference. even a paramedic unit, when a paramedic unit arrives on scene, a paramedic unit cannot start, wait, trying to go like, it sounds like it.
Three.
Oh, it's right. A paramedic cannot start ALS, advanced life support, until BLS is initiated. So even if you have a paramedic arrive first, they still have to go through all the protocol in a BLS patient before they can start advanced life treatment. That's why it's so critical to have the fire engine get there first, because the fire engine does two things to the current system. The fire engine gets there within that 4-minute window. It initiates early care, like giving oxygen to a stroke victim, taking vitals, stabilizing the patient, reassuring the patient, we're here, and then the